Good day, everyone. I am your host, Alexander Senyoron, a fourth year BS Psychology GCCSO intern. I hope you are good and well. Welcome to our webinar entitled Mission Possible. We don't chase people, we chase BLEP dreams. To start our program, let's begin with a prayer to be followed by the singing of the national anthem.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for gathering us all today in this important endeavor. We ask that you bestow your guidance and blessing upon each attendee. May we honor one another by keeping an open mind. May we voice our truth and listen with an open heart. Bless everyone present today, that each may be able to share his or her contributions and gifts. Grant good health and safety to loved ones left outside this room, and bestow peace and goodwill to all of us. We ask for your wisdom and grace to use our talents for the betterment of others. May the various activities related to this day be a success through your intervention. With gratitude, we offer this prayer in your name. Amen.
Bayang magiliw, pelas ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, buwit ka ng magiting, sa manlulupi, di ka pasisingil. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong buhaw, may nilagang tula at awit sa paglayong minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdidinig. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidinig. Lupa ng araw ng walhati pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mag-aapi, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
So, to formally start, let us welcome the Director of Guidance and Counseling and Career Services Office, Ms. Maria Gracia Gonzalez, for her welcoming remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. So on behalf of the Guidance, Counseling, and Career Services Office, I warmly welcome all our BS Psychology students joining us this afternoon via the GCCSO YouTube channel to our inspiring webinar, Mission BLEP Possible. We don't chase people, we chase BLEP dreams. This event is especially for our future psychometricians who continue to work hard and stay hopeful as we prepare for the BLEP. Today's session is meant to inspire you, remind you of your purpose, and help you believe that your BLEP dream is truly possible with dedication and heart. We're honored to have our guest speaker with us this afternoon to share valuable insights and encouragement for your BLEP journey. And of course, a special thank you to our amazing BS Psychology on-the-job trainees assigned at the Guidance, Counseling, and Career Services Office for organizing this meaningful event. Your efforts and enthusiasm made this possible. So once again, thank you everyone for being here. Let's learn, be inspired, and keep chasing our BLEP dreams. Welcome to Mission BLEP Possible.
So guys, aware naman kayo sa topic ng webinar natin for today. Share ko lang achievement ng University of the East last September sa BLEP exam. UE Manila has an overall passing percentage of 87.62% and meron tayong top-notcher. Nakaka-inspire as a psychology student na someday pagka-graduate natin and magte-take na tayo ng board exam, gusto rin natin makita yung pangalan natin sa listahan. So, ano nga ba ang mga tips and techniques na or preparations na pwede nating gawin para sa BLEP exam. And kaya, meron tayong webinar na ganito for today. Pero before that, ano nga ba ang BLEP? BLEP stands for Board Licensure Exam for Psychologists and Psychometricians. Ito ay isang licensure exam na ina-administer ng Professional Regulation Commission o PRC para sa mga aspiring psychologists and psychometricians. So, psychmates, ready na ba kayo makilala ang speaker natin for today? She is Professor Gemma Belsidayen, a clinical and forensic psychologist and national lecturer on advanced psychological assessment. She combines her passion for psychology and law to guide and empower the next generation of mental health professionals. So now, I will give the floor to Professor Gemma Belsidayen for our discussion. Prof. Gem, the floor is yours po.
All right. Good day, everyone. Okay, thank you for having me for this webinar. No, I am Professor Gemma Belsidayen, from the Behavioral Sciences Department of CAS UE Manila. I would like to thank also the Guidance and Counseling Office for the initiative for this webinar on a primer for the board licensure exam for psychometrician and psychologist. Particularly, this is focused on our graduating students and all our psychology students out there who is interested to have their preparations early on for the board exam for psychometrician. Okay, and later on, if they're able to earn their master's degree, they'll be able also to take their licensure exam for psychologists. So to start and move on with our presentation, let's take note what is BLEP. Okay, so what is the Board Licensure Exam for Psychologists and Psychometricians? So it refers to the licensure examination required under Section 11, Article 5 of Republic Act 10029, otherwise known as the Philippine Psychology Act of 2009. So this was legislated in 2009, but the first licensure exam started in 2014. So it was a long journey to have the practice of psychology get into the licensure examination in order for us to regulate the practice of the mental health profession. And this is a very young licensure exam for our mental health professionals. Hence, I'm very thankful that there's this initiative to have this primer to give you this overview of what to anticipate, what to prepare for when you are eyeing to be a practitioner, when you're eyeing to practice your profession as a psychometrician and a psychologist. So that's what is BLEP all about. So if we will look further, Philippine Psychology Act of 2009, all applicants for registration to practice psychology and psychometrics in the Philippines must pass licensure examination administered and regulated by the Professional Regulation Commission through the Professional Regulatory Board of Psychology. So the PRC is the one preparing for this licensure examination and under which it is headed by our distinguished honorable members of our Professional Regulatory Board of Psychology. So the PRC would be the government agency regulating licensure practices for professionals in the Philippines. Okay, so Professional Regulatory Board of Psychology is the body under PRC, created under Section 4 of Article 4 of RA 10029, to regulate and supervise the practice of psychology and psychometrics in the Philippines. So these are, again, the dedicated, hardworking, honorable members of the practice of our profession in the field who are in charge of major decision making on how the licensure exam should be conducted in terms of its mode, in terms of its coverage, and of course the passing percentages that identifies the efficiency and the credibility of our applicants to be given the license to practice to practice in the field of psychometrics and in the field of psychology. So here we have an overview of our PRB. I mentioned that we have to take note of who our PRB members are. Currently, we have our current board members under the leadership of our chairperson, Honorable Miriam K. And our member, the Honorable Hector Perez. So previously, they are there are two members, and one chairperson, and that we also have Honorable Dr. Imelda Villar, as our previous members of the PRB. So looking at this lineup, we have to identify that they are the ones in charge of what will be contained in our board examination. So why is it important for you to know who would be the members of the PRB? Because it will give you a background as well in terms of preparation for the examination on what kind of approach you're supposed to prepare for in terms of the questions being generated, of course, and being filtered by our members of the board for PRB. Okay, so they are the ones who gets to decide what's included in the board examination. So later, we will see specific table of specs, and again, these are approved by our honorable board members for PRB and psychology. So what's the purpose on why we have a BLEP? I mentioned this is relatively a new licensure exam, so just around more than 10 years, and that we are hoping to have more professionals earn their licenses in the practice, because this would be the main reason why we have this. Number one, to protect the public from unqualified or unethical practice. So we understand that mental health is a very crucial topic to talk about, because as human beings, we are not only looking into our basic biological needs, but we are also catering to our cognitive and our social needs, and this needs would be advanced if we have identified on how to take care of our mental health. So in that case, it's very important that we have licensed professionals who are efficient and able to deliver quality service to their clientele, be it in various fields of clinical psychology, industrial psychology, educational psychology, and all other key areas of practice in our community, in our local community of psychology in the Philippines. So if there would be moments and instances that our clients are not attended to seriously for their needs on therapy or assessment, we know that this licensure examination would be the protection for such kind of abuse or neglect for our clients. Hence, when I would train students towards completion of subjects, particularly the board subjects for the licensure exam for psychometrician. I would always emphasize the ethics, the mastery of ethics would be very important, because again, if we are um, promoting malpractice, we wouldn't be able to standardize our procedures and our steps. And we all know that our credibility and our integrity is also affected by this unethical practices. Hence, the second purpose, to ensure competence and integrity among psychology professionals. For you to be able to know that you are qualified and you are able to practice, okay, the profession with sincere intent to help the clientele. Now you have to ensure that you're competent enough. So the competency is measured by passing, of course, the licensure exam. And I would always encourage psychology majors, those who have earned their degree, to take the licensure, because your competence would be your key contribution to advancing mental health. So it's not just for your own personal gain, but going back to my stand that if we will have a collective effort to become the best mental health professionals out there, we would be able to showcase that mental health is a primary need, and it's very important for everyone to consider and take note of. So we understand there really is an increasing need to look into mental health of every individual, and that competence would be something that you would readily offer to someone who is in need of help. So for you to be able to help others, for one, you have to equip yourselves with the key skills and knowledge, and that the licensure exam would be able to measure and gauge that you would be given this opportunity to practice the profession. Okay, so given the competence, of course, it goes down with your integrity, and that they are able to know that you're practicing the profession not only for the purpose of your personal financial gain, for example, but also towards showcasing the primary needs and care for those individuals who are suffering from different mental health issues or mga psychological problems that we all need to attend. Okay, so likewise, ayan, we are trying to come up with linkages in other countries in terms of how we practice psychology in the Philippines. So the third purpose here for the licensure exam, okay, would be to maintain globally competitive standards through a credible examination system. Okay, so once you're able to earn your license, you are given this opportunity to practice your profession locally. But because of our accredited organization, which is PAP, Psychological Association of the Philippines, we are connecting with other Asian countries, other organizations of psychology in other countries. We're trying to have this reciprocity system of which we can also practice our profession not only here in the Philippines but abroad. And that would be also through the initiative of our honorable PRB members, Dr. Miriam Ke and Dr. Hector Perez, and along all the other members of the PAP and the officers promoting that kind of reciprocity practice. So hence, in the future, if you're able to earn your license, later on, with the linkages that we have, with the networking we have established, we're not only practicing psychology locally in the Philippines, but we, when we talk about globally competitive standards, we're also able to be recognized as mental health professionals abroad. Okay, hence the premise no of continuous professional growth. So when we talk about promoting continuous professional growth within the discipline, once we earn the license, we would not stop from our professional growth. I mentioned about PAP, the Psychological Association of the Philippines. They are holding annual conventions, of which it provides continuous professional development for our licensed professionals. So you have to be an active member, and you have to actively join the conventions, for you to be able to um, renew your license, because of course we only have this 3-year validity for the license, and then afterwards you have to renew, and in the process of renewal you have to show that you are continuing your development as a professional, further studies and joining different trainings, certification programs, specialization practice, and specialization certification, which is also initiated by PAP, the Psychological Association of the Philippines. So looking at it, I would say all these purposes would be very key motivation for everyone who have earned their degree in psychology to prepare for the licensure exam for psychologist and psychometrician, or BLEP. So in preparing for BLEP, the benefits for taking BLEP includes it's, for one, that's correct. If you are applying for jobs that would require the title of a psychologist and a psychometrician, it would be among the legal requirement for practice. You wouldn't be able to practice psychometrics, you wouldn't be able to conduct psychotherapy or counseling if you will not be earning your license. So it's an official recognition by the state that you are, for one, a competent professional to pursue the practice in the mental health profession. There are, I would say, among various opportunities as psychology and the practice for mental health profession is a very flexible field. So there would be very many career opportunities, be it in the government, specific plantilla position for practice of psychology in the armed forces. So we have psychologists practicing psychometrics in NAPOLCOM. Others would be in the neuropsychological assessment of our soldiers in the AFP. If we talk about the government practice, there would be a wide array also of practicing the profession in industrial setting, and that we can cater to workers' mental health. You might think that the license for psychologists is only for clinical setting. Primarily yes, but eventually at the moment, with the increasing concern for workers' mental health, on issues of burnout, fatigue, and all other psychological distresses, we also have practicing psychologists in the industry. So many corporate settings are already recognizing that mental health is a primary need of employees and workers for efficient, productive workers who can deliver outputs needed for companies' revenue. So you cannot just look into skills of workers at the moment. You're not only looking at whatever performance based output they may have delivered for the work they are assigned to, but it's also important to consider that at a certain point they have this psychological needs to attend to, and that is also a growing market for job opportunities out there. Likewise, among the benefits, would be your validation of competence, and ethics. We already mentioned that, if you are able to pass, the licensure exam, it's, your license, is your ticket, to show, that you are competent professional, to practice, psychometrics, and eventually, become, a psychologist, in practice, the services, provided, such as psychotherapy, and assessment as well. Okay, so similarly, there is professional credibility, and that, we say, with your continuing professional development, you're not only stopping, from earning your license, you're continuously learning, and that you're continuously studying. And so, for my students, my students would be aware that I really have, that um, motivation not to study, and that I'd say, it would be, a never ending growth and development, not only for the sake, of your personal gain, but also definitely for the gain of the practice of psychology, and for the most importantly, the benefit, of our clients. The clients, would be, the primary beneficiary, if we have this professional credibility with us, that, we're able not to put the best service, provided, to our um, clients. I'd always take pride, if parents, would go back to me and would be very thankful, that in one way or the other, in our own little way, we are able, to help, not only students, but actual clientele, for whom, I have handled, in some of my volunteer works, as a mental health professional, doing therapy and counseling for those, who may be suffering from anxiety, or some other mood disorders. So the professional credibility is not just, for the extension of your name. It's actually a responsibility. It's a social responsibility that you are carrying with you, that in your own effort, uh, little by little, you're making a difference to the society, client after client, one psychological service after the other. And if this becomes, a collective effort, in many years, of licensure and practice of psychology, we will become, a stable, and productive, society as a whole. And that's what I'm looking forward to. That's why I would always, provide, help, in any way I could, or promote, young professionals, to get into the practice, be in the field, try to maximize, the degree they earn, and of course, earn the license, for the practice. And okay, and the last benefit, is that, you have, this ethical, and legal accountability. So when we talk about legal accountability, it's connected to the idea of a social responsibility, that we are able not to practice, with due diligence, and primary care, for our clients. We take note, most importantly, of their well-being, and that, the most important goal, is, no to in a way, improve, our clients well-being, and mental health status, in the best way that we could, in our own simple effort, mainly, as licensed professionals. So I would say, that's, key, to you thinking, of why do I need to take this? Why do I need to take this licensure exam? If you are an advocate, of mental health, you would, be involving yourselves, in this licensure, because one young professional or one individual who becomes licensed in the field of practice of mental health means another individual contributing to the growth of the welfare of our clientele. And so I hope that would be enough to uh, for you to anticipate preparing for BLEP because there's so much need for licensed professionals in the practice. Okay, so taking BLEP would mean you would have this extension name, the RPM. So that means registered psychometrician. So it's a natural person who holds a valid certificate of registration and a valid professional ID card as psychometrician, issued by, of course, the PRB of Psychology and under the supervision of PRC. Again, under the Republic Act 10029. And that the functions currently include the following, but they are able to, in recent PAP convention, the Psychological Association of the Philippines are taking initiative to expand and amend parts of RA 10029 and expand the functions of a psychometrician. So provided that such shall at all times be conducted under the supervision of a licensed professional psychologist. So if you are an RPM, you are working closely with a licensed psychologist, administering and scoring of objective personality tests and structured personality tests, excluding projective tests and other higher level psychological tests. So when we talk about projective tests, many of you are familiar. So these are tests that are utilizing unstructured approaches such as the use of ink blots, telling stories through pictures. So we have the thematic apperception test. Projective techniques would be excluded among the practice. Mainly because this would be for the licensed psychologist. Why is that so? You have the idea that this are highly subjective test materials, and that it would require more experience to interpret such subjective projective tests. So we don't want when we talk about integrity and credibility, we don't want to jeopardize our clients psychological makeup in terms of profiling. Hence we have to go through specific training so that if ever you are getting into the use of projective tests in your practice, at least you have earned your master's units for handling advanced projective techniques. So those are subjects that you will encounter when you get into your RSI journey for your master's degree. So of course, aside from administration and scoring, interpretation will always be part of your role as psychometrician. Hence, when you take psychological assessment, the core skills that you earn in those subjects would be the main skills that you need in the practice. That's why sabi nila, which I would say arguably that would be one of the most challenging subject in your course for the bachelor's degree in psychology, which I handled. So ganun pa man, writing psychological test reports or case reports as well as conducting intake interviews would be among your functions. So if you will remember, especially for my students in assessment, psychological assessment, if you would remember your key requirements and major requirements in the subjects, these are your core activities for you to be able to pass psychological assessment. All these tasks are assigned to you, when you get into our laboratory works. No? So if you will think about it, and when we look into the coverage, for the subjects, for BLIP, we really see that psychological assessment really is at the center and at the heart, of the subjects, in the practice of being a registered psychometrician. So you would really get the idea that administering, scoring, and interpretation of psychometrics would be your core function. And among that, when you interpret, you integrate it and contextualize the results by specific intake interview data. So when we talk about intake interview, commonly that's the term in clinical setting when we talk about clients coming for assessment and for therapy, having some chief complaints pertaining to certain psychopathologies. Hence abnormal psychology is also closely connected to these functions. But in terms of psychological intervention sessions, such as psychotherapy, commonly this would be among the functions of a professional psychologist. Okay, so moving further, okay, we now looking at the functions, what's in store for you when you earn your license as a psychometrician. Now, this is now what to prepare for when you dive in for your licensure exam. Commonly, the licensure exam is scheduled in September, and that for several batches already, it was placed in a September schedule. So for the 26 graduates, if our semester, if our second semester ends on April, you have relatively 4 months. For the graduates of 2026, you have relatively 4 months to prep for the BLEP exam. So 4 months would fall May, June, July, August. Kasi September usually yung schedule na licensure exam. Okay, so these would be the subjects covered and the equivalent percentages for each subjects covered. So we have for day one, it's a 2-day, a 2-day licensure exam. You're given 3 hours to finish, and that the first day would cover developmental psychology, okay, in the morning, and abnormal psychology in the afternoon. Okay, and so each would have 100 items each for 3 hours, and that would be 40% of your licensure exam grade. Okay, so on the second day, that would be a psychological assessment in the morning, and industrial psychology in the afternoon. So if you will look into the percentage, 40% would come from psychological assessment. I mentioned that in terms of the functions of a psychometrician, it's heavy towards what you learn in assessment. So a psychological assessment really is the heart of the licensure exam. And if you would have the passion to get into the practice of psychological assessment, it would actually be a rewarding journey to see how psychology works with assessment of our actual clients. So for one, you may be intimidated by the coverage, especially with psychological assessment. But if you will put into heart that passion to the practice of assessment, which I do. I have been in the practice of assessment for more than 15 years already. So let's not talk about the age, but we are among the first batch who was given the license. So if we have no the first licensure exam in 2014, no prior to that, no they have prepared no providing licenses to those who have been in the practice for quite a time already. And they call that no, the grandfather's clause. So for more than 15 years, I've been amazed no by how the practice no will help you grow as a professional. Hence, you will not really think that it really is no, a routine job. No, so you have to start digging no, on that kind of motivation, so that no, when you tackle this preparation for the board exam, you have that burning desire in you, no, to approach this no, with a specific strategy, no, okay, fueled by no, a motivation to overcome no, the licensure exam. Okay, so first day again is developmental psychology, abnormal psychology. Second day is psychological assessment in industrial psychology. And you can look at the items no covering no, and so no. They say no really no, psychological assessment no may pull your grade down no, because it's 40% of the entire no, coverage no, for your exam score. Okay, so exam format no is an MCQ type, no, the multiple choice type of questions. Hence, no part of your prep would mean you have to be acquainted on how no, to deal with MCQ questions. No, so it's a Scantron paper and pen format. No, and so you have to be used no, to properly shading no, your answer sheets. No? So meron siyang Scantron as answer sheet and a separate no questionnaire. So in my classes, no, I have been training students to for one no, to shade, no shading no is also no key. No, because if you're not able to properly shade no, and the Scantron will not be properly read no by the machine, no, it would be no a negative okay, impact no, to your test results. Okay, so it's a 3-hour exam per subject. No, so it runs 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the afternoon. 2 subjects a day, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. So now looking at no, the table of specs. Now, why do we need to look into the table of specs? When you prepare no, for your study schedule in a 4-month long period, no, for one, no, you have to identify what are the things I need to study. No, so in each exam, no, there's what we call the coverage. The coverage no, would be no, included no, in the table of specs. Hence, no, you have to focus no, on areas no, that would have no, more items. No, although I would always say you have to cover no, all no, the contents and coverage of the exam no, when you review. Only that, no, there may be areas no, of focus. No, so eventually you may identify no, what are your key weaknesses no, and at the times no, you have to start with that. No, you have to start no, with your subject area no, that requires more time no, to study. So it would depend on your approach no, if you want no, to put equal time no, but I would say if psych assessment no, would have a higher percentage no, for the computation no, of no, your licensure exam grade, you have to allot more time for that. Most specifically, it has the higher number no, of items, 130 items. Okay, so for developmental psychology, no, we have 100 items. No, so this would include no perspectives on nature and nurture, which includes 5 points. No, and so others would say hindi naman nasusunod ang table of specs. No, at times, no, our examiner no, may move away no, from some parts of the table of specs, no, but generally this is our guide. No. Even when you get no, into some, even when you do self-review and when you get into some review centers, no, this would be essentially their guide no, on what would be the contents of their review materials, no, their lecture sessions, and what would be areas to focus on. Okay, so they cannot no, go away entirely from the table of specs, because that would not be a systematic manner on how to approach licensure examination. So it's systematic and standardized means it follows a specific coverage, and that's the purpose of the TOS. So when you hear the TOS, that's table of specs, we're talking about the coverage per subject. So research methods in developmental psychology, including ethical considerations, would be 5 points. So that would be 10 points already. And so the core theories, core developmental theories, would have 25 points all in all. So that would be 35 points, okay, already when we add all the first 3 coverage, and then 40 points plus 5 points for developmental principles. Okay, and then 30 points added to 40 will be 70 points in total for developmental issues and tasks on developmental stages. So if you will look into the contents, assessment is embedded in the developmental issues. So because you wouldn't be able to identify issues in one's developmental stages if you are not able to apply, for example, neuro psychological assessment, the basic functions needed, or some cognitive development assessment tools, like identifying whether one would be able to critically decide or analyze on certain problem-solving tasks. That would be part of identifying developmental issues. So that's 30 points. So looking at the bulk of it, we're now on the focus on the theories and the key developmental issues. So see 25 points and 30 points. And so that's how you're supposed to understand the TOS, the table of specs. On what areas do I need to focus on when I study the subject. And the last 30 points, that would include 100 items all in all, developmental challenges and milestones on developmental stages. So those are a total of 100 points. The developmental challenges, okay, is divided into 15 points for the challenges across lifespan, and developmental milestones across lifespan would be another 15 points. So this is in a way in a matrix that you have to remember, at what specific age would one has to learn to talk, analyze, and that is backed up also by specific cognitive development theories such as that of Jean Piaget. So if you will look into developmental psychology, it's incorporating also topics under cognitive psychology, portion of that, because we're also looking at other areas of developmental milestones, such as physical mastery of physical movement, such as the use of extremities, self-care, self-feeding, etc. And that is developmental psychology for you. Further, in the afternoon, we have another 100 item exam for abnormal psychology. Okay, normal psychology, I mentioned, is also embedded in terms of the practice of assessment, because key to the goal of certain assessment procedure is to diagnose. So likewise, in developmental psychology, diagnose certain milestones or advanced development or specific challenges or delayed development for our children. And that is also covered among the many psychological disorders in abnormal psychology. So if you look into it, 50 items and 50% of the questions out of the 100 items would be mastery of the psychological disorders and specific symptoms. And among those mastery would be the differential diagnosis. Ayan, makikita niyo yung word na differentiate. So 5 points would be talking about manifestations of what is a behavior, what's the norm, what's within the norms, what is expected of a specific client's behavior, in that, when we look into, outside normalcy, we are also looking into standards, of assessment based on culture. So culture-based assessment, is also something you look into, because again, not all behavior, would be considered, outside the normalcy, mainly because of the influence of certain cultural beliefs. Okay, so I would usually mention about, the topic of suicide, when we talk about normalcy, because in some culture it's an honorable thing, to take your life, if you're putting so much shame, in your family family's name. So we know that, that's harakiri in Japan. But looking at, the psychological disorders and the specific symptoms, based, on DSM-5, DSM-5 text revise, for the others who are using these references, for one, cannot get away, in psychology, without, these materials. So 50 points, would come from not only identifying the specific symptoms, but being able to differentiate it, from other disorders. So there are no possible overlapping symptoms, but you have to know, what we call, the differential diagnosis. So all these would be included, in the 50 item, coverage, for the symptomatology, psychological, okay, disorders. Okay, another 20 points on the theories, explaining the psychological disorders, and 10 points, for overview, of therapeutic intervention. The counseling, and psychotherapy subject, is a core subject, for the licensure exam of psychometrician. So it's not within the core subjects, for for the psychologist. But when we talk about counseling and psychotherapy, it's for the core practice of psychologists. Hence, it's within their core subject, for the licensure exam. For psychologists. Now, for your case, because you have seen, that in the function of a psychometrician, it's not within your core function, to implement, or conduct therapies. Hence, it's just, a small portion of the TOS. That's why I mentioned that the TOS, table of specs, or the coverage, is a standardized, systematic view, on how you're supposed, to approach and prepare for an exam. So you cannot put so many questions pertaining to therapeutic interventions. One, because it's not within, the coverage of the practice yet, for the licensed psychometrician. Not yet. So if ever they will expand, most likely, this kind of coverage will be changed. So don't expect na pag nag-expand yung coverage ng function ng psychometrician, you would now be, a registered psychology associate, which is among the proposed revisions, of RA 10029. I do not expect that this would be the same table of specs that we have, at the moment. Ito yung mababago. Kakaroon ng expansion din ng mga topics, and subjects, to cover for the licensure exam. Hence, more knowledge is needed, more preparation, is necessary, because mas marami ka ng function, to fulfill, under your license. Ngayon, for now, since it has not yet been amended, hindi pa nababago yung coverage ng function ng psychometrician, we're still eyeing for the licensed RPMs. This is the coverage that we have. So we already have 75 items, tama ba? And then we have another 5 points, for the social-cultural factors, and ethical principles. 10 points for global health crisis and mental health law. So this would be infusing current events, such as what happened in terms of the impact of COVID-19, as a pandemic, the impact of pandemic on the mental health of the people in the community. So that would be all in all 90 or 80. That be all in all 100 items. Okay, so going forward, to the second day, yung ating industrial psychology is an afternoon exam. So bago ka mag-industrial psychology sa hapon, you're taking psychological assessment in the morning. Okay, so 20 points would be organization theory. So it covers theories in organizational setup. Okay, so there are different theories talking about, for example, motivation of workers, workers' job satisfaction, and this is highlighted by different factors that promotes productivity and commitment of workers and loyalty to the organization. So this would be backed up by key theories of Alderfer, ERG theory of Alderfer, and that Maslow's hierarchy of needs among the many theories in the organization. That would be 20 points. In that, another 20 points would be organizational structures and systems. So we are looking at how a specific job is analyzed. That usually is the starting topic of industrial organizational psychology. When we start with job analysis, we're talking about job description and job specification up until we're able to create performance evaluation and training for our workers. So that's how organizational structure and systems is identified or studied, which covers 20 points, another 20 points for IO coverage, and then another 25 points for human resource development, human resource management. So we're looking at again, the different HR functions. So you can see there in the outline talking about career development, talent management, manpower planning and staffing. All these would be part of 25 points in the coverage. And the last 35 points would be under team dynamics. So this would be talking about topics of leadership, and that a different impact of leadership styles to the group, and other group dynamic processes that we look into, such as conformity, cohesion, would be covered for 15 points. And under the last 20 items would be organizational change and development. So we're looking here as mentioned yung mga key topics I mentioned when we talk about in practice, tinitignan na natin yung employees' well-being, employees' mental health, and how it connects to one's level of productivity. So that's a very important area to look into and to study, all in all, for the industrial psychology coverage. And again, at the heart of the licensure, so that covers 60% of your exam, and the 40% now covers psychological assessment. So 39 points would come under psychometric properties and principles. There would be a lot not to talk about when we talk about test construction, what specific test fits a specific set of clients for a specific need. And that again would be the heart and soul of the practice of the psychometrician. So identifying the psychometric properties, cannot forget validity, reliability, and always say to my students, when you see me, always have to remember reliability is consistency, and validity is accuracy of the procedures you employ. Not only the administration of tests, but also all other processes such as interview, conducting interview. That's why when we look into assessment, it's embedded in all areas of practice in different facets of the field of psychology. So even in doing research, you're doing assessment. So you're doing quali interview, you're doing testing or survey for questionnaires. No, this is quali quanti research. Now, these are all no assessment principles. Hence, you cannot neglect 39 points, 30% of the coverage. So another 15%, 20 points would come from research and statistics. That's why if you will look into the subjects I handle, these are all intertwined subjects of psychological statistics. I handle psychological statistics and infuse that and introduce psychology students to measurement of behavior through certain standardized tools such as psychological tests. Hence, when you look into this, you cannot forget the processes of test development, item analysis, item reliability and item validity, the coefficients for item discrimination, item endorsement. All these would be part of measurement of psychological assessment, infusing statistics and research. Hence, my students would understand why it is included in the coverage, because you are as major requirement are infused towards the process of test development. Okay. Uses, benefits, limits of assessment tools and instruments would be 13 points. Now, because we know now there would be certain standard error, or error rates for our instruments, and that some self-report measures would identify tests that would have high impression management, and that in the premise of understanding impression management, there should be certain validity measures in the test, such as that of MMPI. If you have encountered Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory, that there are measures identifying whether one would be faking their answer. So part of that would be covering the limits, the use and benefits of the assessment tools. That's 13 points. Another 19 points for selection of assessment methods and tools. So again, going back, we have different clientele. We have children, we have adolescents, we have adults, we have male, female examinees, we have special groups. Hence, there are different design tools for different sets of clients, different sets of examinees that we assess. So that would be included in this coverage. Now, what specific tests would be for career counseling. So we are supposed not to be familiar, for example, with the Myers-Briggs type indicator and its equivalent parallel form, the KTS, the Kersey Temperament Sorter, and all kinds of tests with different subscales, such as, of course, the classic MMPI I mentioned, which is parallel to the BPI, the Basic Personality Inventory, and 16PF, of which the 16 personality factor is deduced and factor analyzed into 5 global factors. All these you have to remember. So going back, pabrikan nyo talaga kung ano yung mga ginawa nyo sa assessment under my class and my subject. If I would refer to my students who have been under me in psych assessment. This really are the details, the bits and pieces of how you prepare yourself for the exam. Now, another 20 points for test administration, scoring, interpretation, and usage. So there are, again, standard practices in terms of the use of computerized testing. You have to be aware of remote administration of the materials, because under ethics we have included already the remote practice of assessment, and that started when the pandemic came. Okay, it was an added element in the practice of psych assessment, because we have to understand that with pandemic, no, we wouldn't be able no, to do no face-to-face administration. Or at times, no, our client no, would be no, in far away places, if you are in the metro and that you have clients in the Visayas area, you would be able to cater to them through remote assessment. Okay, and 19 points for ethical principles and standard practice. That's 15%, the last to complete all 130 points. So do not forget, there are 19 questions in the ethics. Commonly, these are the mga situational questions wherein ethics has to be applied accordingly. Okay, so this would be a good outline for you to take note of when you start preparing, for example, for a 4-month long preparation heading towards the September 2026 licensure examination for psychometrician. So these here on the screen would be our commonly popular materials for the subjects I have mentioned. When you prepare, knowing the coverage is one, but the next thing is looking for the right reading materials. So you wouldn't be able to prep up and cover those table of specs and coverage without the appropriate review materials. For abnormal psychology, we have Psychopathology by Barlow, Duran, Hoffman, and of course, you cannot get away with the exam without that Diagnostic Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders. So this is DSM-5 or DSM-5 text revised. So you have not to invest in this review materials or reading materials or books. Actually, from your classes, dapat you have been building these materials already, and that the same materials or textbooks that you use in your class should be the same reading materials when you get into your review. Okay, so you don't just start acquiring this after your graduation within 4 months, getting to September licensure examination. You have to acquire this while you're taking the subject. So if you have no developmental psychology, in completing developmental psychology under your course, you're supposed to get Santrak or Papaya for the textbook. For industrial psychology, AMOT would be a popular reference, but there are several references in industrial psychology looking at the variety of the coverage of industrial psychology. And then there are also local textbook materials for IO. So we have AMOT, Dessler, and McShane as among the popular ones. And of course, for psychological assessment, we have Kaplan sa Puso as among the reference, but a popular reference, I'd say this is a student-friendly material because of the simplicity on how the topics are presented. I'd always say Cohen really is a good read for psych assessment of most of the topics that you need to remember. But of course, there's this also some psychological manuals, psychological books, psychological assessment books that acts as manuals and guides for different types of tests. So meron yan na psychological assessment by McGraw, and that nandun yung iba-ibang mga tests and dinidiscuss niya ano-ano yung mga different purpose of those test materials. So maliban doon Anastasi would be a classic reference for testing as well. And of course we mentioned about PAP, Psychological Association of the Philippines, which is the accredited organization by PRB that moderates the practice of the profession. Hence, yung Code of Ethics is designed and prescribed by PAP. Hence, Code of Ethics is something you have to review because that's part of the coverage as well. So wala yun sa mga foreign textbooks. So yung mga ethics natin in the local practice, we have the PAP Code of Ethics. So hindi lang siya in assessment but also in other areas like in conducting research, and in conducting therapy sessions, no, in doing remote no services no for the clients. Nandun yan lahat. So I would say that's part no, of what no you have to consider no, as part of your materials. No? So we mentioned here apart from review centers, because review centers of course will provide you know with some reading materials as well. This would be actually a summary of the highlights of what's included no, in the textbook no, that we have. No? And commonly, this is prepared no, by lecturers. So yung mga lecturers, no, of which I also happen to be in one of other review centers. No? I'm also invited no, to do special lectures no, to psychology programs no, for psychological assessment no, in some other schools. No? And so when we talk about review materials no, from the review centers, no, this would be prepared no, by the lecturers commonly. And that no, the lecturers would also be dependent no, and would also refer no, to the references you're seeing here on screen. So we have no very helpful alumni no, members. Yeah, so you can see there no, the tip. No, so you can ask no for the UEPS officers no in our alumni no for no, the review materials. So that's very important no, to look into and consider no, as part no, of your preparation. So looking at no all those no guides, no, we can now look into some tips. No, so this is just a quick guide tip no, for your preparation. So for one, I mentioned no, you have to calculate how much time are you supposed no, to allot no, for your review in a day. Okay, so it would again no, depend no, on your preparations, or would depend no, on your preferred preparations no, for your review. However, no, I wanted you to consider no, the exam schedule. The exam schedule would come in a whole day package that is 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon. I'd say when you create a study schedule, you have to train yourself attached to that kind of schedule. Sabihin, no, kailangan, no, nasasanay mo na yung sarili mo that in for first 3 hours in the morning and the next 3 hours in the afternoon, you have no, to infuse yourself no, with these kinds no, of reading, review, studying, no, and taking mga sample examinations or taking mga mock exams. Okay, so I say when you create a study schedule, I would understand usually you'd say I'm not a morning person, so I would rather review afternoon up until night. No, perhaps you can start with that to get yourself in the vibes. No? But eventually towards nearing September, particularly August, you have to adjust already your body clock. No, your body clock means you have to be fired up for the first 3 hours in the morning and the second 3 hours in the afternoon, because that would mean you call this a preparation for your licensure exam schedule, meaning your body is already adapting to the time of which you're supposed to take the test. It's a 2-day 6-hour exam. So if you want to do a study time, you have to have that kind of approach. Set clear goals. So you have to identify how many hours am I finishing the coverage for the one we've just discussed. Ilang araw in a day am I covering these topics, and what would be my focus area. So you have to identify that. The goals would be dependent on you because you are gauging which areas you really need to focus and study further, and you have the specs to prep you up. Because you can see ano yung mga areas na mas maraming items. Ano yung subject na mas malaki yung percentage, which is assessment. And then you know for yourself what areas you're supposed to improve. So that would be very important. So, yung practice with past papers, ito commonly pinoprovide ng review centers. No? So this is what you can get when you get to enroll in the review centers. No? Aside from if you wish to do self-review. So self-review kasi, yan, of course, you would be doing your own reading at your own pace, but the mock boards, or the diagnostic tests, would be part, of what you pay for in the review center. So it's your choice. Again, it's your decision, which would be your own preferred approach. So you can also look, for some mga practice tests online if there is an available one. Okay, so active learning techniques would mean you're not only memorizing per se the terminologies. You have to know how it's applied, because the MCQ questions are not only recall questions. There are questions of analysis, application. Hence, it would really test how you're able to evaluate and integrate the topics in specific cases or situation. So that's very important. When you plan for your study schedule, taking breaks is very important. We don't want to reach a specific level of plateau that you have to cram all topics all together in your head. That's why you have to do distributed learning instead of mass learning. So in distributed learning, you have to take breaks in between. So during your break, it's up to you as to what kind of breaks you want. If you like music, like me, when I do review, my break would be singing along, singing to myself, listening to music I like and enjoy. So it's your choice what breaks you like. If you wish to sleep, take power naps, that's okay. If you want to do brisk walking, or if you want to run, physical exercise would also help. Because this is not only mental preparation, this is physical preparation as well. Okay, so take note of that. When talk about minimize distractions, others would understand that social media is a very big distraction for us. The technology of accessing our social media accounts would be very handy. So others tend not to deactivate their social media accounts if they get into the review zone. Or if they would get to peep into the social media accounts, they have controlled time for such. Okay, so social media would always be a main distraction. So maybe you can just keep your messenger and deactivate some other social media accounts to focus more on the review time. Okay, sourcing emotional support is very important because getting into a review is not easy. You can get into some form fatigue, you may be worn out, and it will be difficult for you to focus later on. So you don't want to tire yourself emotionally and have burnout later on. That eventually, no matter how you read, no matter how many times you read something, it wouldn't be processed by your brain. And because at times, emotionally you're drained already. So you have again to put balance. So taking breaks can also address that. Or if you want a mentor or coaching with someone who already passed, someone you fully trust that can guide you in the process, you can have that as well. But again, it's dependent on you because others would prefer to do it independently on their own pace, not their own strategy, and others would want someone by their side to put more moral support as they thread along the preparations for BLEP. Stay positive and don't stress out because again thinking negatively would be affecting you in terms would negatively affect you or jeopardize your preps. So no matter how prepared you are, no, if you're stressed out, no, come September, no, it would take a toll, no, on you, feeling as if you did not review at all. But gano'n na lang akong maalala, hindi ko na maalala yung mga na-review ko. So, going back, no, if you think it like that, no, go back no, to practice tests, no, go back to mock boards. No, so, para ma-test mo at ma-identify mo na nare-refresh sa'yo yung mga na-aral mo, no, at na-a-apply mo siya in the exam. No, the practice tests, no, will always be key. So it's not just reading, understanding, and analyzing the coverage, no, in textbooks and review materials. Practice test is always very important. So you cannot get away with that, no, when you tackle, no, BLEP preps. So that's key and very important. Okay. So the test is a multiple choice question. No, so these are just no pointers, no, for you not to tackle MCQ questions. So take note, no, when we talk about MCQ, okay, in situational analogy questions, no, it's always the best answer. So it's always, no, a matter, no, of elimination of answers if you don't know your answers right away. So yun yung idea na eliminate distractor choices, no, and that, no, do not leave, no, anything blank. Double check that you have answered everything, because bottom line, no, this is not a right minus wrong exam. Okay, so if you don't know the answer, no, make an educated guess, no, the most logical, reasonable answer to choose from among the choices. So when you read the question, it's also very important, no, to spot right away what is being asked. Focus on what is being asked exactly from the question, and so you can choose, no, from the choices. No? So the idea is, no, alamin mo muna ano ba yung tinatanong sa question. So you have to make sure that you have understood clearly what the question is all about. Okay, so ayan, naka-identify naman dito, no, that for application questions, yun yung mga situational questions. You have to put, no, it in context. So yan yung mga parts of it you have to evaluate fully, no, what is being asked. No, and eventually, no, it would be ending up, no, for you to choose, no, the correct answer, especially, no, for application evaluation questions. No, I would always say, no, among the strategies for MCQ questions is to really practice, and practice. No, so on a day-to-day basis, no, you have to orient yourself. Every time that you review, for example, in a day, at the end of it, no, as much as possible, you get to infuse yourself, no, with practice MCQ questions. Pag natapos ka mag-review in a day, it's best, no, to infuse yourself being familiar on how to approach MCQ questions. That's why in my exam, no, in my classes, no, it's always, no, MCQ. Why? No, because you have to be acquainted, no, with these strategies, no, on how to approach, no, which is the best answer among the choices. No, more so, no, if these are not factual based questions. No? Kung hindi ito mga specific diagnoses, no, of course for those factual based questions, no, of course, no, you need memory retention. So among the tips also, no, for memory retention, no, is others, no, will take, no, proper supplements. Kaya physical din to preparation. So you have to have some supplements, no, to help you retain, no, substantial number of information, because again, it's, for example, a 4-month-long review, you have so many things to cover. You've seen the table of specification. You also have to prepare yourself, no, physically. No, exercise, no, meditation, no, and supplements, no, would always be key to prepare yourself physically, no, because, no, that is key, no, towards preparing your mind. No, preparing your mind means preparing your body also. So, no, that's very important, no, when you get into this BLEP, no, licensure exam, no, and approaching, no, MCQ questions strategies. Okay, so always double check your answer sheet. Do not leave anything blank, no, and make sure, no, you have, no, made, the best answer for each question. Okay, and that we have after the exam, of course, after the exam, you've given everything. We have first unang-una, coping with post-board exams stress. Pray. Pray very hard. Even before, during review, and during the examination, but most importantly after. Why? Because this is the time of which you cannot do anything anymore. The exam is done. You've done your part, and you just leave it all up to the higher being. Pray to God that He would be directing you towards success. So that's for me the ultimate coping for the post board exam, because actually the stress of waiting for the board exam results would be high. Although relatively, the release of the exam results would be very quick, because it's computerized, it's through scansion and through machine, but still there would be a highly stressful day, for which you're thinking, I should have done this, I should have reviewed like this, I should have answered like this should be my answer to this question, etc. Unfortunately, those things are no longer within your control. Hence, you have to pray very hard, because this again would be a highly stressful point, when you finish the licensure exam, because it's nothing more that you can do aside from praying really hard. Other than that, of course, reset your study space. You can now set aside your review materials, put it in one area. As you wait for the exam results, you can now get a much needed sleep. You of course for 4 months you have this routine of studying. At times others would say, I feel lost, what do I do now? I don't have anything to review and study. It's not usual for me. So you have to find a new routine to get into, to get going, and find things you're passionate about as you move on towards establishing your career path already. Of course, celebrating your hard work, because you've done your best. So take note. It's very crucial that you don't leave any regrets. So you push yourself towards your best preparation ever. Okay. Pause and then move forward. And that again you go back to finding what you would be passionate about, or what career move you want to take on for the next few days. In terms of the results, we have to pray that God would provide us with an open heart to accept every results there would be. Of course, if it's a success, we are in celebrating with all those who would earn their licenses. But of course, in terms of the results, there are two possible results. You would be able to make it, earn your license, or you would not be able to make it. When we talk about it's not the end of the road, there's always a way to prep again and try again. And it sabi nga nila the best view would come from the hardest climb. So kung mahirap man yung journey, it was not successful for the first take, you have to prepare for the second one. Go for it. I'd always say go for it, because it's an opportunity, always an open opportunity for you to earn your license. When you say be kind to yourself, of course, you cannot blame yourself for things you have not done. Always remember you have done what you can at your current circumstance. We have different way on how we prepare. We have different circumstances when we approach the board exam. So don't compare yourself to others. If others are successful, they have different journey, and different challenges to overcome, same as yours. So you go on you are going on at a different pace, and always take it to point that even if you're not able to make it and earn your license the first time, it's always growth and development, because at least you're able to see what's in store for you when you take it the next time. Okay, so hopefully all these would be enough no, for you not to consider, no, and I would be concluding, no, this discussion, no, wishing everyone, no, the best, no, for their licensure examination, for their career, for their future career, no, and their future practice. Thank you so much, no, and have a nice day, everyone. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Thank you, Prof. Jem, for that insightful discussion. Thank you po sa pag-share ng knowledge and tips para sa ating mga sitemates. And I know, inspired na sila and motivated to take the BLEP exam. And now, we'd like to present a certificate of recognition which reads, Certificate of recognition is hereby given to Professor Jemabel Sidayan for being the resource speaker in the GCCSO webinar entitled Mission BLEP Possible. We don't chase people, we chase BLEP dreams. Given this 7th day of November 2025 and signed by Maria Gracia M. Gallardo Gonzalez, RGC, Director of GCCSO. So, to Professor Jemabel Sitayen, thank you po for sharing your knowledge with us. So, ayun. Thank you, Psychmates, for joining us in today's webinar. I hope madami kayong natutunan and sana na-inspire namin kayo to take the board exams. Also, the evaluation form is open until 8 p.m. today and e-certificates will be given only to those people who answer the evaluation form. E-certificates will be given next week. So, thank you guys. We wish you the best. Our future psychometricians, always remember, we don't chase people, we chase BLEP dreams. Let's get that RPM, guys. To end our webinar, I invite everyone to join in singing the UE hymn.
Pamantasan ka naming mahal, ilaw sa karimlan, buhay, lakas, dunong, dangal, pamantasan ka ng bayan. Ang pangalan mo ay manhati at sandigan ka ng lahi, pamantasan ng silangan, pamantasan ka naming mahal, pamantasan ka naming mahal, ilaw sa karimlan, buhay, lakas, dunong, dangal, pamantasan ka ng bayan. Ang pangalan mo ay walhati at sandigan ka ng lahi, pamantasan ng silangan, pamantasan ka ng